Well, well, well. Animation has come a long way. It's not too long ago that we had Toy Story, which people still remember as the first of its kind. Computer graphics were no longer a thing of the future, but of the present. And I guess now it's the past, but also the present? Over the next few decades, graphics were steadily improved. We got notable milestones such as The Incredibles, Nemo, How to Train Your Dragon, Brave, and of course, Elf. But not all the movies in this wonderful renaissance were as enjoyable as those mentioned before, or really enjoyable at all, for that matter. Some of them are just festering pits of bad animation and story writing that should by all means be forgotten forever and for always. So we're going to talk about one of those today. Igor is a 2008 chick flick that revolves around the world of Igor. The other one, you know what? It revolves around Steve Buscemi.
Good evening, friend.
Steve Buscemi is an indestructible rabbit in this movie, and his one ambition is to find a way to end his life. That's all Steve wants. Steve just wants to die. Numerous methods are attempted, but the fact still remains that Steve cannot and will not perish. So Steve lives his whole life in the company of Igor and Brian, who they sometimes call Brain for some reason. Steve's pessimism borders on nihilism. Wait, you'll watch this quickly.
Want to be trapped in an endless existential nightmare, forced to keep living even though life is meaningless and nothing matters?
Yeah, so scratch that, he is a nihilist. Steve's friend Igor works for discount Dr. Nefario, whose mother wanted him to be a plumber. This rando is also the inspiration for Gru, I think, since he mentions disappointing his mother and he wants to build a rocket, but that's a story for a whole other video. Discount Dr. Nefario / Gru is a failure at everything, even life. With Igor's boss gone, Igor takes over as the head evil genius. He uses his boss's lab to create a female Frankenstein's monster. Steve couldn't care less, but oh well, might as well stick around since his friends are Brian and Igor, and now I guess this monster thing. Anyway, this monster thing goes on the rampage and tries to savage some blind orphans, but gets discovered by Steve and his friends before she can get away with it. The blind orphanage keeper, who is also blind apparently, gets yelled at by Igor and then kicks the gang out. Somewhere along the way, we meet this guy, the only interesting character in this movie, besides, of course, for Steve. This guy's name is Dr. Shaden, it doesn't matter. His name is Chad. Alright? Chad is such a mad lad that he has not one but two girlfriends, Heidi and Jacqueline. Chad's simple plan is to dethrone the Shrimp King and take over their country, Malaria. Did I mention they live in a country called Malaria? Because they do. So after Steve has tried to kill himself a few more ways, it turns out that Eva, Igor's monster, isn't actually evil, but is instead an actress. She talks about a shopping list and tries to kill Steve, but Steve escapes such a fate due to his unkillableness. Actress Eva just wants to be Annie, but she cannot, for she is too large. Look at her. She is large. It doesn't stop her from getting a dress and a wig and putting on makeup, for she believes she will be Annie. But Igor, Steve's friend, has other plans. Annie will not be Eva, but instead evil will be Eva. All that needs to happen is Eva commits an evil act. No matter how hard Igor tries to provoke her, she is resilient and will not do anything bad. She's basically the female Jesus. I guess that makes Igor the devil. And I'm not sure I actually argue with that, but that's a whole other topic. Eventually, Chad takes things into his own hands and kindly invites Eva to join his play, for he is a secret playwright. She gratefully accepts, for Igor has recently denied her romantic advances and she will no longer accept him as her director. But disaster strikes when Chad's play is in fact The Hunger Games. Eva is a tribute and will fight to the death in an arena thing against a bunch of rival scientists' creations. Eva is angry because Chad lied and attempts to murder him. As a result, her evil bone comes to life and she becomes Eva 2.0. Eva 2.0 is much scarier and much stronger and decides to destroy all the other tributes. The capital is pleased, but then the Shrimp King is shown to be a fraud when Steve and his friends destroy the bad weather machine that plunged Malaria into its age-long darkness. It doesn't matter though, since Chad has taken up the mantle of Shrimp King. Eva is about to kill everyone in Malaria when Igor rushes out into the arena and convinces her that, hey, maybe you don't have to be so evil. And hey, maybe killing everyone isn't such a good idea. Eva contemplates Igor's advice, then remembers that he recently turned her down and kills everyone anyway. Steve survives, of course, since he is immortal. The blind orphans sing a song, and that's the end of the movie. Alright, that's not actually how it ends, but you get the idea. I hate this movie. The animation is disgusting and horrible, even for 2008. The story is lousy, and the characters are lifeless and boring. I remember when I first watched this movie as a young boy of maybe 10 years, I hated it. It was ugly and scary and basically just the worst thing that ever happened to my eyes. Everything about it is bad, except for Chad's voice and Steve Buscemi. If there were a version of this movie that had just Chad and Steve, it would have outsold Avatar. But since it has Igor and Heidi and Brian and Eva and the Shrimp King, it only got $30.7 million worldwide in its entire lifespan. It's a shame. Chad and Steve, you guys deserve better. I don't know how this thing passes for a kids movie, honestly. It's little more than an ugly Tim Burton wannabe. How it made as much money as it did, I really don't know. Here's my advice: don't watch it. If you did watch it, I feel sorry for you as I do for myself. The only redeeming thing about this movie is the song it plays with the credits, and only because it reminds me of this vine.
Take me away, a secret place.